Even a rat. Also a rat. What it was about a world that it has everything. The idea that from the lower worlds everything is in essence in the higher world. That's understandable, but why a world to begin with has everything? That I didn't catch.
Why the whole principle that it's contained in the higher world is all based on this? What does the higher world have to do with it?
I didn't understand how why does a world have why does world have things? Especially when you start in Orient Sof. Unless it's just revealing what's in Orient Sof.
Well, let's first get inside again. I don't know exactly where we should start. We will start again in the middle of that paragraph. The line begins with the word be-olamot on the page that's 12.
Did you dial in?
No, I did not.
The line above it starts with Avo or Chas v'Shalom. Two lines with be-olamot. There's two lines that start with be-olamot. Which one is the one about? What's the line above it? Avo?
Be-olamot atachtenim. What?
Two lines start with.
Yeah, the line above it is Avo.
Avo. Okay.
Welcome to Ayin. Welcome. At the tone, please record your name followed by the pound key.
Ava Paltiel.
Thank you. You are participant number 1.
All right, so we are discussing now to identify the phenomenon two distinct phenomena. It would seem not even a similar thing, but we're saying no, they're quite distinct. The fact that the principle that Atzilus is created from oil in Sof, which is Atzilus, and then on the other level, that Oilam Atachtinim, Oilam Biyah are created from Atzilus. And the point that we are making is, ultimately the point is, that the fact that when Atzilus is created from Oil in Sof, it's a greater gap than when Oilam Atachtinim are created from Atzilus. And in line of trying to explain and allow us to focus in on this principle, the gap between Oil in Sof and Atzilus, we cannot begin to understand at all the phenomenon of creation. When you start creating something new, that we have no access to. But and therefore, to understand that phenomenon again, how great it is, we can't even begin. But one thing that, so to speak, hits us in the face, and that is that the entire presence of that Oilam Hatzilus is dependent on the fact that it's being supported from Oil Sof. And if the Oil Sof should Chas v'Sholom cease to be give it mashpor, then the world would cease to be, not just cease to be in a manner that it cease to function, cease to be totally as it was never there. There's not even any kind of trace, any kind of beginning for it. Because the entire beginning, the entire concept, there should be a world, doesn't exist but in Ayin Sof. And then we say, but there's a similarity on the other side, on the lower level. The Oilam Atachtinim are also mushpoim, are also supported and given chayas from the highest world of Atzilus. And if not for that support, they would not be. So there's again a similarity. So for this, here's where we're reading, walking on very, very thin ground. But if we focus in and try to understand everything that's being told, we will be able to understand it. The phenomenon of the higher oilam creating the lower world is not of the higher world itself. It is of the Oil Sof that the higher world is receiving from its creator. As we pointed out last night, and perhaps I'll make another point here, which I didn't make exactly in last night. In everything that gets created, there are two distinct levels. Interesting in physics, in our physical world. There are two phenomena. There's an object in movement, That's called inertia. And then there is the initial impetus that starts its movement. To maintain its movement does not require anywhere near the force that starts it off. We're all familiar with this. I don't need to warn this. The starting off creates a new phenomenon. He has to start off, break its root, its founding situation from what it is now to a new situation, fundamental situation. And for this, you require also fundamental force. It cannot be by the way. It has to be a concerted force with intent of disturbing this thing from its rest. The fact that Olam Atzilus create, make it simpler, the higher Ayin creates Olam Atzilus from scratch.
It creates Olam Atzilus from scratch.
From scratch. The initial, it gives it starts off the initial phenomenon. Olam Atzilus creates Olam Biyah, but we might as well say inside, take a look. At the end of the line begins by Olam. Hine ma shehu Olam ha'elyon mashpia ba'olam atachteinu. This which the Olam ha'elyon, the highest world, is mashpia in the lower world. Eine mitzad atzmei, is not in and of itself. Kiyim, but rather mechayusoi mashe mekabel mi boiroi. It's from its chayas that it receives from its creator.
You pronounce that Miborov or Miborov?
Miboroi.
Miborov.
I use it that it receives from its creator. Now, what does that mean? Of course, whatever it has, it receives from its creator. So I say it's not mitzad atzmai. His creator created him, and now he creates something else on the basis of what the creator gave him. Was it not mitzad atzmai? What this is saying is that no matter what it has on its own, it would not contrive the idea of creating something new. It itself is a created entity. Where does it come to create something new? The phenomenon that they create something new is because it has that element that his creator gave him. This is a creator presence in him.
It's alive. It's will.
What?
It's not just an automatic, a Ruby Goldberg, I throw a ball and it hits another ball. It's not like billiards.
No, it's not. So this creation is mitzad, the boiler that the chayz that he receives from his creator. That initial quality of creating something new is not present in the created element itself. It is the creator within him.
To remain on this call, press 1.
That creator element, please don't lose the terminology, the creator element within the created always remains distinct. What does that mean? No matter how much the created understands itself, it does never understand how did I come here? Because this is outside of its parameters. It is the Creator's decision. Therefore, there's more to this, but let's continue on. The line is "Bo'elmas hatachteni." From his creator. V'lulei hahashpo, and if not for the hashpo, from the highest world. So then the lower worlds would be misbat, would cease to be. Because they're completely, all they have is what they receive from the higher world. But yet still, they would not cease to be legamri totally. That it should revert back to the state as if they were never there. Why? In terms of our presentation, we can already project, because the idea of them being pre-exists their being. It was imbued in them by the Creator. Well, that's the inside. Shaharei inyan bitulam. Since that the principle of their being bottled, because of the absence of hashpoch chas v'sholem, me'olam ho'elyoin hu. You could say how fine the idea here is. It's not even possible to formulate the words. That is bent on absolute brevity, but it's very difficult to formulate the words that you should really give the point. The point is this: the heder hashpoch chas v'sholem is in what respect it is heder hashpoch? It's a hashpoch that fails to come from the higher world, not a hashpoch that fails to come from essence. It's a world. It's not coming from the world element. But in essence, it is there already. It is from Olam Ha'elyoinhu, the higher world element that is missing in the Hashpah. Higher world is not giving the Hashpah, so therefore they cease to be. So which aspect are they missing? The initial aspect or the continuation, so to speak? They're missing the continuation. The Olam Ha'olam is not interested, so they stop being. But the essence is still there.
What does the word Eder mean?
Heder.
Heder. What is that?
Absence.
Absence. That's a Yiddish word.
You understand?
Yeah.
Shahayu miskalim bo'olam ha'elyon. Because they were miskalim. They were contained originally in Olam Ha'elyon. And now, that in and that they were miskalim, Olam Ha'elyon ceases to be manifest. But that's not a complete eradication.
In other words, they still exist on some level, even if they weren't created.
Even they don't create, right? Why do they exist? Because the animal was created into being the world. You'll see now. In a second. Shehoyu miskalim b'olam ha'eli, v'harei yodua, for it is known, the chol ma shenivro b'olam ha'tachtenim, that everything that was created in the higher, lower worlds, nimtzo kolul b'olam ha'eli, is present as an incorporated element in the higher world. Everything that manifests itself in the lower world, in the lower worlds, is in a sense is kolul, it doesn't manifest itself, but it has an incorporation element in the higher world. Kinoide, as is known, the chol chelkei that's cham, dibiyah, that all aspects of that cham, which is basically all the various categories of existence in the world, yesh gam ba'atzilus, all these is present also in Atzilus. As it says in Chaim, as discussed and explained elsewhere. And then in parentheses, v'hainu, this principle that it exists in the higher world, what is that about? Because it is also bibchina soila. What are all the things that exist in the high and lower worlds? This is a phenomenal thought. All the things that exist in the higher world, in the lower world, it exists there because there is a world, not because they exist. The model that we have for this, we discussed last night. All the furnishings that you have in the room is because this is a room, not because of the furnishings that they have. It's a dining room. And the dining room contains all the furnishings that you would ever put into there, if it's appropriate, before you even put them there. It provides for it. It provides for it both in terms of room and in terms of its significance, of its value, of its utility, of its design. Every piece of furniture that you put in a dining room complements the dining room principle. It's not a new thing. If you put something there that is a new thing, that is not drawn from dining room principle, you're interfering with the whole thing. The whole room becomes out of kilter. The higher world, the highest world, Atzilus, although this is Atzilus and so forth, but it's also bivchina soila. It qualifies as world at the highest level. World means, okay, maybe we'll stop here and define this. What the word world, what is world? What qualifies something as being in the category of world rather than a category of essence? So in principle, the Alter Rebbe, it's amazing the simplicity. The Alter Rebbe says that the term olam applies to something that is within time and space. So time, it says, past, present, and future. And space is the Milo Mato and the four sides. Okay. We are used to thinking of the world, of an object in terms of 3 dimensions. The truth, however, is not 3 dimensions; it's 6 dimensions. The provision of the accommodation for things requires 6 dimensions. This is the principle of world. Things exist because there's a commendation for them.
What are the 6 dimensions?
What?
What are the 6 dimensions?
Up, down, and the 4 sides. The 3 dimensions is a shorthand for identifying how big are these 6 dimensions are. But essentially, what makes things capable, what provides for things, is the 6 dimensions.
Time is not a dimension.
What?
Time is not a dimension.
No, time is separate. Time and space. Time and space. Time is past, present, and future. The Alter Rebbe says this is a separate discussion. What is the principle that time and space? This is what defines world. These are the fundamental aspects that qualify world as a world. The principle that space is, we'll talk about space, it's easier to focus in. What is the principle of these 6 dimensions? Like we said, there's a room. And this is what provides for everything that goes into the room. This is where all the things. When you have, before you have a dining room, you don't even think about the table and chairs.
So this is the context.
This is the context. But and this context incorporates in it everything that will fit into it. Everything. In absolute reality, listen to this. As big, like we said the other day, give a person the Empire State Building as a personal dwelling, he'll go crazy. He'll say, I don't want it. You know why? Because he has nothing to fill it with. He can't even conceptualize what this is about. So a dwelling to him is something that he can encompass in his mind and say, oh, I see what's happening there. This is this is this, and this. And from that perspective, in absolute reality, every last corner is filled with some kind of functional thing. So since Atzilus is Gamkein bebchinas oilam, it's a higher world, but it has a bechina of oilam. Therefore, in that bechina oilam, everything there is in whatever there is in the world, there is in Atzilus, on an enormously higher level. Take it on a simpler. Everything that exists in words, in dibur, exists in machshava. Machshava is also a word. Okay, so this is. We'll stop here just. So therefore, this is not such a categorical bittul that if it's not mashpor, there is nothing there. There is. The beginning of this world is not in Atzilus. The beginning of it is in its the creator of Atzilus. Because the creator initially, when he designed the world of Atzilus, designed the world of Atzilus for the purpose that Atzilus, that it should devolve further down.
So the worlds that are under Atzilus are not getting a real yesh ma'ayin. They're not coming from Ayin. They're coming from something that's already existing.
Right. In some sense, they exist. Therefore, the gap between Atzilus and the world is less than the gap between Ein Sof and Atzilus.
So this phenomenon, it sounds like nothing we have in this world.
Why?
Because in this world, there's always seems to be a random element. You know, you're never quite sure that when I hit the pool ball with the cue. Okay, I'm being careful to hit it in just the right way. But once that it should hit another ball in just the right way, if I am, an expert. But once the ball hits the second ball, it's on its own. It's just impelled. It's imparted force. But that force itself, the ball itself, is not intelligent. It's not. It doesn't have a will of its own.
Okay.
What you're saying, what you're talking about, is that there is the will of Hashem's will is maintained as consciousness down through the levels.
That is the initial force behind everything.
Yeah.